my question, and I concur with everything you're saying. When we started seeing these bills come up, and it began, the inception, it felt like, was protecting women's sports, quote unquote. And then you see the Riley Gaineses start to become super, super popular. And Tate Reeves, Mississippi's governor, signs an anti-trans bill. You see Ron DeSantis sign an anti-trans bill. It basically started with protecting women in sports and sports overall. That, do you feel like, revolutionized and made a huge impact and dent in many minds of the electorate? Whereas, as I have seen, which is insane to me, because each marginalized community should be stood up for, that Democrats basically punted. And now I'm seeing even some Democratic leaders saying we will continue to lose elections if we focus on the trans issue. I'm blanking on the trans lawmaker from Kentucky. I believe her last name is McBride. She was asked about using the bathrooms, and she punted on that as well. So it's a two-parter here. The first is, do you believe that the impact of the sports trans overlap led Republicans to this point to be incredibly extreme? And why do you think Dems are punting on this issue?
Yeah, so I think our media, specifically our national media, has completely failed us on this issue, and that they've been carrying water for this for a long time. The New York Times, in particular, has been egregious in their anti-trans coverage and their attempts to portray it as a both sides issue instead of a "what the fuck are these assholes doing?"
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that is the only legitimate response you should have to something like this: is "what the fuck are these assholes doing?" Like, you're going after a marginalized community, and if you really cared about protecting women in sports, you wouldn't be trying to also get rid of Title IX, because that protects women in sports. And so it never was about protecting women in sports. It's about controlling people's bodies. And the fact that no one pushed back on that, who was in a position of power, is an indictment on them, and the fact that they didn't stick up for those who were oppressed. In terms of our lawmakers, Democratic elected officials have an unfortunate tendency to want to follow public opinion instead of trying to lead public opinion.
Yes.
And that's one thing that Republicans do very, very well, is they lead public opinion in that they say, this is what is going to happen, this is what we believe, and then they get their base in line behind it. Whereas Democratic officials, the vast majority of them are like, well, let's go to our consultants, and see what people are saying. And it's like, well, if Republicans are driving the conversation on what people are saying, you're going to the Republican side. Like, you have to be leaders. You have to say, no, this is not right. The trans community needs to be protected. We need to speak up for them. And we need to make the case that it's not just the moral and ethical thing to do, it's also the politically correct thing to do. Because when we protect the trans community, we are also protecting ourselves. Because eventually the right wing is going to come for us. They're going to
Exactly.
start with the trans people, but they're going to end with us.
Exactly. Are you aware of who Riley Gaines is?
I am. I believe she came in eighth in her race.
She came in eighth in one race and fifth in another.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, fuck off.
so I think here's the big question. First off, what you said about Republicans leading the conversation, 1000% yes. This whole thing about, Libby lib media and stuff like that, it is practically a fallacy at this point. If you look on Facebook, you look on podcasting, you look anywhere, it is all dominated by conservatives, the Dan Bonginos, the Ben Shapiros, the Michael Knowles Daily Wires, etc. So with that being said, going back to Riley Gaines, why do you believe she is elevated to this point when all it takes is one Google search away from dispelling a majority of what she's saying?
I mean, it's the same reason why black men were lynched in the South, because a white woman claimed something and white men want to believe it because it reinforces their pre-existing preconceptions. Like, it really is that basic. Like, you get a bunch of old white men see a pretty young white girl who claims something, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna believe her. And I mean, it's a tale as old as the United States. Like, it's literally in our history that this has happened before. The only thing that's different is now she's targeting the trans community. instead of it was Emmett Till, right? Like that was
Hmm.
when it happened to the Black community. Like it's something that's been done before.
Fair point. Isn't it also hypocritical to say that they want to protect women when they have someone like Donald Trump in the office who's credibly accused of sexual assault by 25 plus women?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like, and that's the thing. The entire Republican Party is filled with hypocrites. Like the fact that Congress is ceding its power to the president is like, I can't even begin to describe how un-American that is, because the entire purpose of Congress is to be a co-equal branch of government with the president, executive branch, with the judiciary. So if an executive starts to go out of control, Congress controls the power of the purse and says, good luck paying anybody. And the fact that they're rolling over and allowing a dictator to start existing, they are cowards, and they're traitors to the Constitution. And I mean that with every sense of my fiber. They are traitors to this country.
You were a political science major, correct?
Mm-hmm. Poli sci
You
and history.
poli sci and history, excuse me. So you have that under your belt. You played professional sports. Do you feel like at this point in time that that politics is very team sport oriented?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like and you're seeing it a lot where it's like, okay, you have to vote for your side no matter what their position is. And as a country, we have to move away from that. Like and a large part of it has been kind of the dumbing down of education that's occurred over the past 40 years, 45
Hmm.
years. Basically, you can point to any point in time where things got worse and be like, oh yeah, that's when Ronald Reagan was elected president. So like it's literally we have become dumber as an electorate, but it hasn't been an accident. It's been on design. Like people who want to control other people, it's very hard to do that if the other person is educated and informed and understands what's going on. It's a lot easier to control someone if they don't understand why they're not voting in their best interests. And that's what we've seen from the Republican Party for the last 40 plus years.
Amen to that. You told Hawk's podcast that there's a huge skinhead and neo-Nazi problem in Huntington Beach.
Mm-hmm.
How has the council emboldened them, and how did this happen?
Well, several council members hang out with Proud Boy members, so that's a start. I mean, they post pictures of themselves. As you mentioned, Gracie Vandermark has been seen at multiple gatherings. One of our other council members, recently elected, Chad Williams, he's posted pictures of himself with a local Proud Boy on his Facebook page. And Huntington Beach has always had this problem. Like I grew up in Seal Beach, which is about 4 miles away, and even when I was growing up, you knew about the surf Nazis at Huntington Beach, you knew about the skinheads, like you had to be careful at certain parts of Huntington Beach. And the reason why I moved here with my family, 15, 16 years ago, was it looked like Huntington Beach was going in the right direction. Like they were starting to get the problem under control. The city was a nice place. Like there were good things happening. I was like, yeah, this will be a cool place for us to live. It's a chill beach town. Like this fits. And then COVID happened, and apparently everyone lost their mind. We decided to bring Nazism back and make America great again. So yeah, it's really distressing when you see like a whole rally of lifted Trump trucks going through PCH, and there's the occasional Confederate flag or someone throwing a Sea Kyle, and it's like, yeah, this is what they're bringing to our town.